Takes a village to raise a child. Cannot do it alone. And a lot of us are not living near our families. So we have to be more deliberate about creating our tribe. In the United States, we are so focused on being independent. We don't really teach our kids a lot about being interdependent. And nobody gets through this life on their own. And so having a good tribe means that sometimes we're supporting somebody else and we're showing up for them. And sometimes they're supporting us and they're showing up for us. If you have the tribe, your kids are going to learn and naturally see the benefit of having other groups, other people that you can lean on, but also the pleasure and the joy and the satisfaction of being able to do for others. Having other people outside the family who are part of the fabric and who are coming in. The outsider can very often bathe you in that uncomplicated approval, which is difficult
Mm,
for a parent because we're busy
yes.
correcting and molding and shaping
Yeah.
in a very active way. My
Mm,
godmother did have that
mm,
ability to take my hands in hers and to look at me like I was the best thing since sliced bread, and
mm,
a way of sort of believing that everything good was coming my way and everything good was going to happen. I was this, awkward, nerdy kid. And my mother was concerned. My mother was concerned about my weight. She was concerned about my clothes. She was concerned about my friendships. And my godmother, Aunt Maggie, would just look at me and beam approval and
mm,
confidence in my future. Incredibly valuable. Many of my clients in the San Francisco Bay Area are coming in from a different country. Their families are thousands of miles away. They are dealing with culture change as well as feeling distant. And so I started by thinking, what are some of the initial needs we have when we bring that baby home? Parenting is a social skill. We used to learn it organically through interacting when we were children and when we were young adults. And then as we became parents ourselves, we had multiple interactions with multiple generations. Even if you weren't a big babysitter or a lifeguard or camp counselor, the chances are that you had been the oldest kid on the street. And so you had taken care of other kids on the street, or you had gone to a church social and somebody had thrust the infant in your hands and said, "Here, hold the baby. I have to go do X." And so you'd had these micro experiences. And what I'm finding with parents today is that they have not had these experiences. So not only are they often physically isolated, but they are sort of emotionally isolated from the process of parenting and from learning how to be a family. Hand-in-hand parenting in Palo Alto has a technique that they describe as listening partners. This is another powerful way to create a very small tribe for yourself, one which is extremely supportive to your parenting. You find somebody who is willing to be your listening partner, and you set up a schedule of meetings and an agreement of, okay, Nayoka, you're going to get to go 30 minutes. You can talk about whatever's happening with you. And I'm just going to hold space. I'm just going to be an active listener and I'm going to hold space for you. And then we're going to swap and I'm going to get my 30 minutes. So in this way, new parents are having a space where they feel seen and heard and understood and held in a time which is so much new learning and it's so challenging, and we're physically exhausted. We're not getting the rest nor the sleep that we want, that we're not optimal, but we get to deliberately create this tribe for ourselves by finding and identifying and choosing a listening partner. And I truly believe that it's not somebody you have to be super simpatico with, because the tool of active listening is going to provide the framework and is going to provide the structure. Because if they just follow the rules of active listening and say, this is what you're thinking, this is what you're feeling, this is what you're upset about, did I get that right? And you go like, yeah or no. And at the end, they say, thank you for sharing. They don't have to agree with you or disagree with you. They don't have to approve or not approve of you. The process is going to provide that need for you to feel seen and heard and held. Another emphasis that I put on families is to first and foremost remind them to be their own tribe. And this is, again, something else which has gone by the wayside because we've shifted to a society which does not support families. It doesn't support family time. We've shifted to a society that supports business and individuality and the development of self. We have to deliberately balance that in our families by being our own tribe and really boosting the family bond in order to create that connection and that cohesiveness. I have a few ways that I really like doing that. One way is fairly simple, and that is for parents to do some values work and to get super clear on where are their joint values. So if parent A and parent B both do this work, and then they compare their lists, inevitably there's some overlap. Now, there are going to be some places where there's not overlap. One parent may really value creativity, and another parent may just be very grounded in reality in the day-to-day of real life. They might not need that expression, that emotion, that imagination. That's okay. That's fine. But within these two lists, never worked with parents who haven't found some key values. I love families using the phrase, in our family, we, because it not only reminds your kids of what the rule or the expectation is, and very often we're making a correction, like in our family, we are safe, put your bottom down in the tub. But at the same time, you're making the correction, you're creating the bond. And you're saying you're on the inside. You're part of the tribe. You are part of the tribe that sits down in the bathtub and is safe. Or when, as a parent, we come and say, well, in our family, we're safe. We wear our helmets. We are reminding the child where home base is and what their source of all goodness is. So that's one way. I also like being super deliberate. And I encourage families to use the values, to develop a family motto, make a family mission statement, and then put it up on the wall. Have it be part of what you do. And again, some families sit down at the table every night and they hold hands. And where we used to maybe would say a table grace, saying the family motto has similar effects of saying, this is who we are. We are together. We're coming together at this meal to recognize who we are. And it does take the whole family, hopefully, to get to the table and to get that meal on the table. So a mission statement is, who do we want to be? How do we show up in the world? How do we want to treat each other? All of this is building the bond, the connection, the cohesiveness, a clarity which helps kids feel safe and secure, and also helps us feel safe and secure. It distinguishes us as the family as opposed to the different forces that are pulling at our time or our attention. Family meal times are so important. We all know that the correlation between family meal times and teens thriving at a higher level is so strong. Right? Families that have 4 meals together a week have teens who have better GPAs, are more likely to be on sports teams, are less likely to be engaging in drugs and alcohol, are going to be exploring their sex and sexuality at a later age when they've had more maturity, more time to grow and to think about what they want out of a relationship. That's a lot of bang for your buck. One practice, 4 hours a week, one regular practice has all of that payoff. So create your own tribe. I am a big believer of family meetings. because again, it provides us a structure. And I like to start family meetings with some exercise that brings us present and acknowledges each other. It might be a round of compliments. It might be a round of gratitude. It might be saying our family mission statement again. Or it might be having one child comment on what does your family mission statement, what does the family mission statement mean to you? And a child gets to speak and reflect and be heard in a way which is going to be unique because this is your family mission statement and not somebody else's. So all these ways help us to really create our own tribe. And that's more necessary today than it used to be because there are so many other forces like our phones and 10 million channels on TV that are pulling our time and attention away. Plus, we're so busy that we're not physically spending time together. I also encourage parents to deliberately extend their tribe, extend the family in some of the ways that we were talking about before. Many grandparents are living remotely, and so we need to be more deliberate about how to make those connections between grandchild and grandparent. I don't know what your memories are of your grandparents, but I know that my grandmother played a big role in my life, big, even though she was in New York and I was in California. And of course, her visits were important, but there were also just practices that helped. One summer, my handwriting was so bad that my parents made me take typing all summer. And so every day I practiced my typing by typing my grandmother a letter. I would send it to her and she would get out her red pen and she would correct it and she would send it back. But she'd send it back with a note. In the process of writing the letter, I was sharing about myself. And I was making that connection with her, even though she was on the other side of the country. And so that when we did get together, there wasn't this sense of, oh, I love you, but I don't know you. Or I know you love me, you're my grandmother, you have to love me, but you don't really get me. No, we had found vehicles for knowing each other and for making that connection. Of course, today we have Zoom calls, and it's super hard, I think, sometimes for kids to focus on a Zoom call, but there's also a lot of technology that can allow us to engage. Last night I was at a fun night and we were playing Pictionary online through a website where we both go into the website. Grandmother, grandparent, grandfather, grandchild can go into the website and go back and forth. And, if we look, there are structures and methods that we can use and put into regular use. I read an article about a single mother who was estranged from her own family, who did the most brilliant thing. This was in the days where we still had newspapers. She put an ad in the paper for grandparents. She said, a single mom, 2 boys, looking for grandparents for the rest of our lives. She got over 60 couples contacting her, wanting to be grandparents. This is how much we long for community and long to be a part of a tribe. And she chose from the 60, she chose a couple who showed up for every birthday party, every school performance, every graduation, all the soccer games. What a brilliant way of deliberately creating your family tribe.